Well, good morning, everyone. This is day 20 and 21. Today's Monday, so this is the last day of the third week that since I've started this walk. 3 weeks. And I am up on now the north side of Knoxville, Tennessee, and I'm mapping my way. It's been pretty straightforward up to now. I've been able to pretty much move right along Route 11, but now things kind of get a little different, and I'm going to have to kind of map a little more closely to get me to continue my northeast trek. So I will update you as to what routes I'm going to be taking and what cities I'm going to be hitting. I think Knoxville is probably one of the last bigger cities that I'll be going through, other than maybe Johnson City, which I don't believe is quite as big as Knoxville, but still looks like it's a pretty good sized town. Knoxville and then Greenville, if I take that 321 route, will get me up into that area at least. Let's see. Feeling pretty good for the most part. My feet are still the toughest part of the journey. I'm still waiting for them to toughen up a little bit more, but it seems to be getting better. I mean, after all, I'm carrying a pretty heavy load on my back, and I'm walking pretty good distances. So I guess it's to be expected that your feet are going to hurt at the end of the day. Just want to take the time to thank everybody out there for everything that they're doing. I know it's a lot, we're asking a lot, but again, we just need to keep pushing forward. We're starting to pick up some more media. I was a little disappointed yesterday because the Channel 10, NBC Channel 10 here in Knoxville was going to come out yesterday to do an interview, but I guess the cameraman didn't show up, so they were unable to do that. I'm going to try to remake contact with them today and see if we can't reschedule that before I get too far out of town to still have that interview go forward. But please remember that PJTV, Pajama Television, did do that interview. They're sending it off for editing today, and spoke with them again. And they're still hoping that maybe sometime this week they'll go ahead and post that interview. And I would urge everybody out there to go ahead and subscribe to PJTV. It's free. Go ahead and subscribe to that, and you'll be able to see the interview they did with me. But the other interviews and the other video exposés that they do are excellent. They absolutely get the cause. They absolutely get the dangers that we're facing, and they are trying to get as much information out there to the American people about what's going on in our country. So support that organization. I was actually, I had already subscribed to them before my brother was able to make contact with them. So it was kind of a surprise to me that it was PJTV that we were going to do the interview with. So that was pretty cool. But anyways, the word's getting out, and each day we still keep chipping away at it. But there's much more that needs to be done. So again, I'm just asking everybody to remember that although it's great if you can get people to join, we need to instill in everybody that we all need to be active. We need to be actively getting out there, actively telling people our cause, and continuing to build membership for a team, get people to join the team. And organizations, any organizations that you have. We're working right now, according to my brother, we're working on the Rick and Bubba show, which I think basically is centered out of Birmingham, Alabama. And there's also today possibility of doing an interview with the radio station out of Montgomery, and I apologize, I don't remember the names of the two guys that host that show, but I'm sure if you go on the team wall, I'm pretty sure Rick has posted the information there. So check it out. Again, the idea is to try to continue to get as much media coverage as we can to expand and let more and more people know what we're doing, so that we can continue to build team. Let's see. Other than that, there was just an interesting story yesterday. I want to thank my newfound friend. His name is Jack. He's from this area, and he just blessed my heart so much yesterday. I can give you a quick synopsis as to what happened. I had moved through the center of Knoxville and was coming out the other side, and had come upon an area of town where I noticed as I was walking down into it that there seemed to be a lot of homeless people, and probably 50, 60, maybe even 70 people just kind of milling around in the street. And quite honestly, it made me a little nervous because I'm walking alone. I don't know anybody. So I had asked one gentleman who came up my way and walked past me. I said, "Is something going on? Is there a street party or something happening?" He goes, "No, that's where the Salvation Army is, and the mission is right down in there." I said, "Oh, okay." So when I walked down in there, again, I honestly, I was a little nervous. But one brother came up behind me, and he started walking and following behind me, and there was a woman in front of me walking, and then another gentleman that was kind of standing off to my right. And so the woman stopped, and she turned around and looked at me. Of course, I probably, I have a great big huge backpack, so I probably did stick out a little bit. So I stopped because the woman did, and then the woman and this other gentleman, I think his name was Sean. I don't remember everybody's names, and I really apologize for that. I should, but. And then the gentleman behind me came up, and he says to me, he goes, "How long have you been walking for America?" Because I have my, my sign on my backpack. And I said, almost 3 weeks. It'll be 3 weeks Monday, as a matter of fact. This was yesterday, Sunday. So he said, "Well, where are you heading?" And I said, "Washington, D.C., and I explained to him what we were doing. And he says, "Man, I wished I could walk with you. I'd walk with you the whole way." And we started discussing what was going on. And, kind of to my surprise, they all kind of got it. They all understood. And we talked, and they felt the same way about the government and what's going on. And so I said, "Well, I need to keep moving." And we probably talked for a good 5 to 8 minutes. And I said, "But, if you guys would, just keep me in your prayers." So they said immediately, "Let's pray right now." So we, right on the side of the street, we joined hands and we prayed for safe journey and for positive outcomes of what we're doing. And so we everybody hugged each other, and I continued walking. And the one guy, I think his name might have been Sean, I can't remember, and I apologize. He walked with me for a few blocks, and we talked. And turns out that he needed a little bit more help. He was from Rochester, from what he tells me, and he had a couple of bus tickets to get him to Buffalo, but not quite enough to get him to Rochester, and he hadn't eaten, so he was a little bit, embarrassed by the fact, but he was asking me if I could help him out a little bit. So we talked long and hard about making sure he was telling me the truth and that he was going to use the money for what he said he was going to use it for. So I gave him a small amount of money, enough to help him accomplish what he told me he needed to do. And again, we hugged, and I said, "Now listen, when you get to Rochester, you got to find somebody to get you on Facebook, and you need to sign up and tell me that you got there okay." And he promised me that he would. So that'll be an interesting outcome. As I walked away, I realized, well, he may not be, telling me exactly what he needed the money for. Might be other alternative thoughts, but I thought, what, I'm gonna plant some money into this field, into this mission field. I'm gonna help a brother out, and let's just see what happens. I'm gonna leave it in God's hands, and I did my part, and God can do the rest. So I continued walking. We parted ways, and I walked down maybe another 4, 5, 6 blocks, and I got into an area where there was a little antique store. There was some people standing on the street, and I crossed the street, and there was a big white pickup truck sitting there, and I crossed in front of him, and I went around the corner. He comes up around beside me, and with his window down, he says, "How far you going?" And of course, Washington, D.C., and we started talking. He says, where you trying to get to?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to get back over to the expressway because I need to get to a motel. It was starting to get late in the day, and I didn't think I was going to be able to make it. I was right in the middle of town." He says, "Well, let me give you a lift. You're kind of off the track. You're not on 11 anymore. So let me give you a lift back over to where you want to be." And there are some hotels there. So I jumped in the truck, and we started talking. And it turns out that he's a pro fisherman. He has fished Guntersville Lake quite a bit. We do a lot of bass tournaments there in Guntersville because the lake is very rich in bass. And we just began talking about boats, and of course we did a lot of talking about politics and government, and he was fully in agreement with what we were doing. So we talked and we exchanged phone numbers, and I told him, "The next time you're in Guntersville, you got to look me up because my wife and I will treat you to dinner." And he told me, "The next time I'm in Guntersville, I'm going to take you fishing." So it was just a really excellent conversation. When we got down, I'm gonna probably have to break this right here, and because I'm running out of time, and I will stop this right now, and I'll do a part 2 just to finish the story. See you in a bit.